introduction, and I would like to join my fellow moderators in thanking the European Institute for putting on such a magnificent event, and to thank the organization for letting everything go so seamlessly. I'd particularly like to thank the organizers for putting me, the only woman I think moderating a panel today, in what we call the dead man's slot. It's always the case for me. I've spoken as many years at conferences, as often the only woman, and I'm always in this slot. So here we are. We've heard a lot in the course of today about pillars. We're now going to look at the third pillar of European energy policy, security of supply. And perhaps it's also fitting that we have a woman chairing on this pillar. If we look at that rather famous building in the center of Athens, if you look closely, those pillars take the form of women, and that edifice seems to be bearing up rather better than a number of other Greek institutions at the moment. So maybe we have something to add in terms of the architecture of future energy policy. Now, I'm a lawyer, as you heard. The other metaphor that has been circulated widely today is the metaphor of hardware and software. The hardware that we lawyers deal with is the European Treaty, the third package. And when it comes to security of supply, an interesting aspect of that hardware is that it's rather difficult to pin down who can do what to further security of supply within the European Union. It's certainly a shared competence. What is also rather difficult is to find a definition of this concept. It is very elusive. Does it mean external security? Does it mean internal security? Does it mean physical security of supply on the long term? Or does it mean reliability of supply so that consumers will continue to benefit from accessible and affordable energy? If we look, as we lawyers tend to do, at the recent court cases of the European Court of Justice, I think what's interesting is that despite the new allocation of powers in the Treaty of Lisbon, where energy security is certainly a shared competence, despite the third package, which of course should give us or deliver the internal market by 2014, the court is still giving a very wide discretion to member states to determine what they mean by security of supply, and indeed to introduce instruments and policies that frustrate the internal market in the process. So the hardware that we have here is indeed a rather suspect. It doesn't seem to give us clear indications. The other hardware that has featured largely in discussions today relates to infrastructure, to grids, and I think that that will be one of the topics that will feature quite largely in the coming discussion. And so maybe we have a more reliable hardware once we get these grids than we have with the legal system that we have. But the two are inevitably interlinked, and I'm sure that that discussion will also flow in this panel. Now, we have a slightly reduced panel this afternoon. Some colleagues were unable to make it at the last moment, but that has the advantage of allowing us more time for questions from the floor to the distinguished panelists that are here assembled on my right and on my left. So to start the proceedings off, I first of all like to invite Jeff Markham, who is Vice President of NERA Consulting.